Hello everyone, welcome back to this third video in this Maya introduction series. In this video we're going to talk about how to navigate your viewport and change the view. We're going to talk about how to create some simple shapes from our modeling shelf and options. And we're going to talk about the three components of every piece of geometry that you will ever create in Maya. So let's go ahead and make some geometry. On your poly modeling shelf up here, you'll see that you have a whole bunch of options here, all the way through to text. If you see one that has a little down to the right arrow on it, that means that you can right click and hold it, and you have additional options underneath it. You can also go up to Create, Polygon Primitives, and that you see you have all of them listed here. If you see that you have a little square to the right, you can always click on that and it will bring up an additional option box with additional creation parameters, which we'll get to later. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to create a plain old sphere, just a sphere. And I'm going to zoom in on it by using my middle mouse wheel button. Okay, just back and forth. If you've ever used a 3D modeling program before, like Blender or some others, most of the time the controls will be the same. Not always, but the main controls. I know that Unreal and Unity use these same controls as well. To rotate in our scene, we're going to hold Alt or Option rather, Alt or Option, and left mouse click and rotate it around. You can see down here that we're working off our three axes, X, Y, and Z, which we'll talk about in more depth later. If I wanted to zoom in with more precision, I can hold down that same Alt Option button, and I can right click and move my mouse up and down. And it gives you a little bit more control than using the mouse wheel. If I wanted to pan in the scene, like move this over to the right, I can hold that same Alt Option button down, and I can hold down the mouse wheel, the middle mouse button. If I ever lose my geometry, say let's throw it off the screen there and I'm just completely out in the boonies now, I can select my sphere here and I can hit the letter F as in Frank, and it goes right back to that selected object. So F to zoom in on that selected object. Okay, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Each object or each piece of geometry in Maya is made up of three distinct things. If you right click in this space and hold it, you'll see a new menu pop up. Oops. And here are the three things that you will see: edges, vertices or vertex, and faces. So vertices are these purple dots. They are invisible points in space that they don't represent anything but coordinates, essentially. There's no physicalness to them. They are just invisible points. Right click and hold edge. The edges connect two vertices together. Select. You can even hold shift and double click and select the edges all the way around. So your edges connect two invisible points in space, which are your vertices. Right click and go back to face mode. A face is a collection of three or more vertices connected. So three vertices connected would be a triangle because you would have three edges. Four vertices and edges connected would be obviously a square. You never ever, as a cardinal sin rule in Maya and modeling and VFX, you never want 5 or more edges on a face. That is called an n-gon, and it will be very bad for you, especially when you get to rendering, putting things in motion with animation, and it's a 10 commandment rule essentially. You never want 5 or more edges on a face, ever. Again, that is called an n-gon, and they are to be avoided. You'll also know that you're in this mode when everything turns blue around this object. If you want to go back to object mode to affect the entire thing and not just the individual components of your geometry, you can right click and go back to object mode. And now that it is green, green means go, you are free to manipulate the entire thing. In the next video, we'll talk about your primary tools for modeling and for moving objects around in the scene. And we'll use this same little sphere. So we'll see you in the next video.